Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Ari Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
So last week we started to talk about how to talk with each other when things aren't going exactly the way you had wanted, or she did something, or maybe even you did something, and there was a bit of tension, and you want to try to improve something, or there's something that she's doing that is very bugging you. So what are some of the rules? Talking to her has to be done in a very, very sensitive way. Like we discussed last time, and times before that, the way she hears from you is that's her whole life. That's the most important thing. Her whole life is my husband happy? Am I making a nice home for him? What does he think about me? So if he talks to her, he talks down to her, he gets angry, then that could totally destroy her. And we said even to the point where she'll fight back just so she shouldn't feel that she's at fault. Therefore, how do we talk? You have to talk in a way that you don't put her down. It's very easy to get angry about situations where you could easily say that it's your fault. Let's give a very simple situation that came up not so long ago. Yeah, I got a phone call from a guy whose wife was doing a hefsek, and it was brown. So I told him, or maybe it was even a better color than brown. I told him that's probably okay, but you should go take it to a Rav Seder. Like 3 minutes later, he called me up and he said, "Oh, my wife did another bedika after that." Like, why'd you do that? Why'd you do another bedika after that? Whatever. There was no real good answer, and it was red. Probably she irritated it, and that's okay. But the problem is that this is a hefsek, and for a hefsek, even if it is a petza, it's not going to be helpful. So B'kitzer, this was messed up, and they lost the date because of it, because she did something she wasn't supposed to do. So now, how do you react? At this point, it's no longer a hilchas nida shaila. At this point, it's a shalom bayis shaila. It's over. It's happened already. So now what? Now what are we going to do? Is it frustrating? Absolutely, it's frustrating. Did she make the mistake? 100%. So now what? So now the issue is a shalom bayis issue, and that's why we have to be extremely sensitive. And most probably, she knows that she messed it up. So then now what? She already feels terrible. So what are we supposed to say? But okay, that's a situation where she knows she did something wrong, and basically the only thing left to do is just to calm her down and tell her that you love her and that we'll deal with it, it'll be okay, and that's it. There's not really much to do about it, but there are certain situations where, like, no, I want to change things in the house. She keeps doing the same thing again and again and again. How do you talk? First of all, you don't say you say I. You say me, or you say us. By saying you're putting it on her. Don't make things bigger than they actually are. Don't say always, never, you always do this, you never do that, even though you should know girls do this all the time. That is a very, very normal thing for girls to say, oh, you never do this. It's happened 3 times. You always do this. Since we've been married, right? We've only been married for 3 months, but, since I known you, you always, it happens to be that's the way girls talk. But you don't have to talk like that. Even if it's something that, it could have been years before. I don't think anybody here is married super long, but it could be years before, right? You've been doing this since we got married. So, wow, that's really, I don't think so, but it doesn't matter. Even if she says it, you shouldn't be saying it. It's a thing that women say, okay? They have a tendency to say like this. Don't make whatever the issue is so big that it's impossible to fix it. And don't tease. Don't tease her. Don't belittle her. These are things, again, you make her feel like she's a child. You can patronize her. You don't feel equals anymore. She is your partner. She's there to help you, to work together with you. If she criticizes you and it hurts, so don't respond immediately. Here is a very delicate balance. Because on the one hand, she doesn't want the silent treatment. She doesn't want you to be quiet. On the other hand, you better not be screaming either. So if you're upset, so what should you do? I have to answer her back, but I can't. So the best thing to do is to wait. Don't wait too long, because waiting too long, she'll feel isolated. She'll feel like she's alone. And that she doesn't want either. Sometimes you say, well, you're not going to say something nice, and don't say anything. Yes, that's true short term. But long term, you should think about, how do I want to say this in a way that it won't come out bad? Think about the words, what do I want to say? And then say it. Don't wait too long. A lot of times, even waiting overnight is already too much, because she's not going to be able to sleep. She's going to be upset. You're going to wake up upset too. And the same thing with you. You might not be able to fall asleep. This is so bugging you. It's so bothering you that you can't sleep. It's kedai to take a little bit of time to think about it, what exactly you want to say, and to cool down a little bit, and then afterwards to speak it out. Just being quiet all the time because you don't want to be angry is almost as bad as screaming. It's almost as bad as showing anger. So you need to do both. Okay, it's hard. It's true. It's a hard thing to do. But lamaisa, that's part of the job. And realize that women are extra sensitive. They are. So any little thing, especially to her husband, who she cares about, that she cares that, oh, whatever my husband thinks of me is the most important thing in the world. So then he actually certainly needs to be extra sensitive. Certainly men and women are very, very different, physically, emotionally, psychologically different. Hashem created her different from you. And she was created specifically in that way to be your Ezer Kenegdo. Sometimes, and this happens, I guess, pretty often, there's usually somebody in the woman's orbit, meaning somebody who's around the wife that usually the husband doesn't like. Whether it is a friend or some kind of a family member, or, a sister, or brother-in-law, or even a parent. There's usually somebody that irks the new husband a little bit. You have to realize that every single person that your wife had interacted with, or part of her life, or in her experiences over the course of her life until this point, were tailor-made for you. Meaning that every experience that she went through, everything that happened to her, all of her relationships, everything that's gone into her, has now been given over to you. So therefore, you're taking her as she is with all of her experiences, and that's the best way for you to grow as a person. So yes, you might not like everything that comes along with it. People, a lot of times, they discount how important the in-law relationships are before they get married. They don't realize how big of a deal these things are, and they really are a big deal. But still, the relationship between you and your wife is the most important thing. And realize that she developed a certain way differently than you, and you are different. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be working together for anything and everything. In there's situations, let's say, you have an in-law issue. So the in-law issue theoretically can cause a very big problem, because let's say it's coming from her side. Let's say, just as an example, it's her mother. Right? So her mother wants her to do something, and you had already made up with her that day to do something else. So now she's stuck. Now what is she going to do? So depending on the situation, every answer is going to be a little bit different, but the approach has to be the same. The approach should be, she should not feel that she's being torn between her mother and her husband. That should not be the approach. The approach should be, husband and wife are a team. We are in this together, and we are going to work on a solution together. How exactly we're going to come up to the solution, we'll talk about it. We'll try to work it out. Sometimes we'll have to be mavata. Sometimes we'll have to put our foot down and say, no, we can't do something, even if an in-law tries to push for it. But the approach always has to be, we are in this together, and we are working as a team together. And that's how we're going to approach every challenge that comes to us. Many times, couples have issues that come up because of preconceived ideas that come from the Goyish world. Unfortunately, it is a misunderstanding of a husband's roles and a wife's roles. and each one thinks something else. And there is no sipuk that comes from that. Hopefully, in Torah families, this doesn't exist, at least not so much. But it certainly can when there's a misunderstanding of the husband's role and the wife's role. There could be very, very little sipuk, meaning generally a woman wants to look up to her husband as a leader. That is the natural way. That's the way Hashem created a woman. To look at her husband as a leader, and he should be the leader. He should be acting as the leader. And that's his responsibility. What can happen in a marriage, theoretically, is that maybe he's a little bit weaker, and he doesn't push as much. And she comes from a more, let's say, liberal place, and she's the one who she pushes, and she's the one who's... So what ends up happening over here is there's a bit of a reverse of roles. If there's a bit of a reverse of roles, what ends up happening is that both of them don't have sipuk. She doesn't have sipuk because even though she's leading, but she wants really deep down, she wants her husband to lead. And he doesn't feel sipuk because she's not respecting me. She's not looking up to me. And that's the way he totally lost his leadership status. And neither of them ends up where they're supposed to. So keeping away from the secular approach to any of these things is crucial. But what should we do in a situation where this is actually what's happening? So the first thing to do is we have to acknowledge that, wait a second, is this why is this happening? And this could lead to very uncomfortable discussions between the two. Like when he says something like, well, why didn't you let me make this decision? And she said, I wanted you to make the decision, and you didn't. And he says, well, you didn't give me a chance. And she said, oh, I've given you a chance for the last year, and you haven't done it. And you can see these things happening over and over and over again. And it's because, in its basis, it's because of krum hashkafas that have seeped in. These are extreme examples of what should really be something that's much, much more adel, something that's much more natural and living in a natural way. Even if a man is more subdued, he's more of an adel person. But when it comes to his family, I'm the leader of the home, and I need to be that way, whether it be in Ruchnius or in Parnasa or Gashmias, these types of things. It doesn't mean that a woman, her opinion shouldn't be kept. Of course, you should respect her opinion, certainly when it comes to things in the home. But when it comes to secular things, certainly when it comes to things like commercialism and social media, when we're being affected by what everybody else is doing, what everybody else seems to... These things should not be in a home. It's only going to hurt. It's only going to hurt the home for a couple to be comparing themselves to what everybody else is doing, or for a couple to be learning how to interact from Hollywood. These things are only gonna hurt them because they're not real. People put on social media, put pictures of themselves. Everybody's so happy when a lot of this is very fake, and subconsciously or in a subtle way, these things seep into a home, and it totally destroys the home. The best thing that a couple can do is take these things away, not have them at all, and instead put Torah into their life. It's very, very kedai for a husband and wife to have some form of learning together. Certainly when it comes to Hilchos Nida would be a very good thing to do. It does not have to be like very long. It could be a few minutes a day. You can learn Hilchos Nida, Hilchos Kashrus, Hilchos Shabbos, Hilchos Lashon Hara, Hilchos Brachos. There are so many things that the couple needs to do, and what it does is it makes our home has a Torah hashkafa. When it's a Torah hashkafa, so the husband and wife are acting the way that God meant to create the world, and not being pummeled with things from the outside, which unfortunately hurt many, many marriages. Many times couples don't even realize. They don't even realize many times there's so much dissatisfaction. They're just lacking sipuk. And they don't even know why. They don't know why. Like, why am I upset? Why am I feeling down? Why am I feeling like I'm not getting any any satisfaction from coming home. Why? No, so people can blame it on many, many different things, right? Because she does this and because she does that. We blame her for everything. But a lot of times it's because it was set up in a way that's not gonna lead to satisfaction. People don't even realize it. Only when after this is going on for so long, and that's also many times part of the problem, is that this festers for too long. If these things would be dealt with earlier, then it would be much, much easier to deal with. But for very good reason. Couples think, well, it's not such a big deal. Or, fine, it's okay, I'll deal with it, I'll handle it, and whatever. And it gets worse and worse and worse to the point where it's just so big. And now we finally turn for help, and then it's too much. It's too hard. Let's just talk a little bit, another few minutes over here. I know it's getting close to the end of the time. There are inherent physical differences between men and women as well. And besides, obviously, Hilchos Nida, we need to understand that the approach in marriage is different for a man and for a woman because of the place where they're starting off from, because of their physical makeup. They're coming from different places. So as this is being a men's shir, that's how we're going to focus this approach to this discussion. Men and women are not the same. Each one has their specific role, and God created them with their physical makeup to be that role. A woman is supposed to be a wife and a mother, and she's not supposed to be the husband. So what's the difference? She was given certain traits, specific traits, to act as a wife and mother. And she was given the hormones for that. She was given the ups and downs, the moodiness, and all these things to be the mother because of these hormonal differences. So she could have massive mood swings, whether it's pregnancy or after or during her period. A man doesn't have any of these things. And because of that, a man is more stable. Again, we don't really even know what it means to not be stable. More or less, men are the same way. Yes, you can get sick and whatever, but more or less, the hormones that run the body are stable by a man, which means you wake up every day more or less feeling the same. Yeah, and that lasts for a very long time. What happens to a woman over the course of 1 month will happen to a man not even over the course of 25 years. Right? A man's male hormones usually peak somewhere around age 18, 19. And they slowly taper off throughout his life, right? It'll start making a difference sometime in his 40s, in his 50s, 60s. So we're talking about his whole lifespan, and it slowly goes down, whereas a woman's hormones go up and down every month like crazy. That means a man is more stable. Because he's more stable, he can deal with the ups and downs because he's the stable one. He's the one who, okay, as long as we expect it, we know it's there. I can be the anchor. I can be the solid one. And I can help her when she's up and down. Mitzvah's oina, which the word literally oina means time. That's what the word means. Mitzvah's oina is on a man. It's not on a woman. And we already know from Toisus and Yevamos that mitzvah's oina is not only about Tashmish Amita. It's about giving a wife time, giving her attention the way she needs it at that time. So whether she's up or down, whether she's dealing with this difficulty or that difficulty, whatever it is, that is the way you have to be noyeg with her at that time. Because a man is stable. Because he has that ability to be stable in order to control himself. It says by Avraham Avinu that he was told about Sarah, Shema Bikoila, listen to her words. But it's not just listen to Shema Koila, listen to her voice. Shema Bikoila. Listen in her voice. Listen to the nuances, the way she says it. How is the way she's saying it? She might say certain words, but she says it this way, she says it that way. Understand where she's coming from. Mitzvah's oina includes her emotional needs, which we said can change very, very radically. And we know also that in general, men are much more physically oriented and a woman is much more emotionally oriented. It is so important for a woman to feel loved all the time. Chas v'shalom, a woman should never only feel loved when his wife, when her husband can touch her, A woman should never feel that way, that my husband only loves me because he can touch me. That is that's something that could totally kill her. And this is something that during the harchokos, I think we discussed this a little bit, that during the harchokos, she might feel like that because she feels distant, she feels pushed away, which is why a man has to be so much more conscious of the way he speaks to her and spends time with her during that time, because it's very, very easy for a woman to feel that way, that, oh, he doesn't really love me, even though it's silly. What do you mean? Why would you think that? Doesn't matter. A man has to put in extra effort. So here we see in the physical makeups of a man and a woman that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created, that a man has this opportunity and potential to bring extra love and extra caring for his wife during the times where it's difficult for her, and he has the stability to do that even in situations where she doesn't, which is why it's truly on him to do this. Yes, it's true. We need two people over here. But when a woman sees how much her husband loves her, the Stipler says, when a woman sees how much her husband loves her, she's going to give him 10 times. She's going to give back to him. She's going to want to give back to him because she feels that love from him. This is Hashem, we shall be safe. Shkoya.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Eli Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.